Percival Dumbledore. Percival Dumbledore, father of Albus Dumbledore, has one of the most tragic entries on this list. After his 6-year-old daughter, Ariana, was assaulted by 3 Muggle boys, trauma that led to her becoming an Obscurial, Percival attacked the boys in a fit of vengeful rage. He was arrested not only for attacking them, but for breaking the International Statute of Secrecy by using magic in front of Muggles. He refused to defend himself, unwilling to expose Ariana's condition to the Ministry. Percival was sentenced to life in Azkaban, where he eventually died, choosing silence and prison over risking his daughter's fate. Stan Shunpike. Stan Shunpike, the overly enthusiastic night bus conductor, made the catastrophic decision to brag in a pub that he had insider knowledge of Death Eater plans. He did not. Unfortunately, the Ministry under newly appointed Minister Rufus Scrimgeour took this extremely seriously. Stan was arrested and sent to Azkaban on suspicion of being a Death Eater. His arrest became one of the reasons Harry refused to cooperate with the Ministry. When Voldemort orchestrated the breakout before Deathly Hallows, Stan escaped as well, only to be placed under the Imperious Curse and forced to fight in the Battle of the Seven Potters. After Voldemort's fall, Stan was freed from the curse and cleared of charges. Lessons learned: do not exaggerate at pubs. Tarkin McTavish. Tarkin McTavish was sent to Azkaban for trapping his Muggle neighbor in a tea kettle. Yes, a tea kettle. Not a dragon, not a cursed vault, a kettle. Honestly, it's one of the most aggressively British crimes in wizarding history. The Ministry really said, "You will not weaponize afternoon tea." We don't have records of a dramatic breakout or redemption arc, just one deeply inconvenient teapot-based felony. Marvolo Gaunt. Marvolo Gaunt, Lord Voldemort's grandfather, was sent to Azkaban after attacking Ministry officials who came to arrest his son, Morfin Gaunt, for using magic on a Muggle, Tom Riddle Sr., Voldemort's father. Marvolo and Morfin lost the fight. Marvolo was sentenced to 6 months in Azkaban. After his release, he returned home only to discover his daughter, Merope, had left, the shock of which contributed to his rapid decline and eventual death. The Gaunt family legacy, pride, pure blood obsession, and a truly catastrophic family tree. Carlotta Pinkstone. Carlotta Pinkstone decided the International Statute of Secrecy was optional, like homework. To protest it, she openly used magic in front of Muggles repeatedly, which led to multiple arrests and several lovely little vacations in Azkaban. And yet, every single time she was released. Apparently, civil disobedience hits different when you're not trying to resurrect a Dark Lord. The real plot twist: she was featured on a chocolate frog card, pictured in shackles, which might genuinely be the most unhinged collectible in wizarding history. Collect them all, including the Criminal Activist Edition. Theophilus Harlow. Theophilus Harlow, right-hand man to Victor Rookwood in the 1890s, took villain side quests to disturbing new levels. He abused magical creatures, used unforgivable curses, attempted the killing curse on students, and tortured Natsei Onai. After his crimes were exposed, thank you Hogwarts Legacy Chaos, he was arrested and sentenced to Azkaban, where he remained for the rest of his life. No breakout, no redemption arc, just permanent "you messed up" energy in a stone cell guarded by soul-sucking nightmares. Sirius Black. Sirius Black was sentenced to Azkaban after being framed for the murder of 12 Muggles and Peter Pettigrew, who inconveniently was alive and very much not dead. He received a life sentence and somehow didn't go insane like most prisoners. Why? Because he knew he was innocent. Spite is powerful. He became the only person ever to escape Azkaban unassisted by transforming into his Animagus form, a black dog the Dementors couldn't properly sense, then literally swam to freedom. He lived on the run until he was killed by Bellatrix Lestrange during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries. Escaped the inescapable prison. Couldn't escape family drama. Tragic. Barty Crouch Jr. Barty Crouch Jr. was sentenced to Azkaban for the torture of Alice and Frank Longbottom, a crime that left them permanently broken. His own father, Barty Crouch Sr., sentenced him, which is either the ultimate display of justice or the most aggressively dysfunctional parenting moment in Ministry history. Crouch Jr. claimed innocence as he was dragged away, but he was imprisoned nonetheless. Then came the twist, his mother, dying and desperate, switched places with him in Azkaban using Polyjuice Potion. Dementors couldn't tell the difference because they sent souls, not faces, and both were equally miserable. Crouch Jr. escaped, impersonated Alistair Moody for an entire school year, and orchestrated Harry's entry into the Triwizard Tournament. Eventually, he was exposed and given the Dementor's kiss at the end of the Goblet of Fire. His soul removed, leaving him alive but empty. First escapee by deception. Final fate, worse than death. Antonin Dolohov. Antonin Dolohov was captured after Voldemort's fall in the First Wizarding War and imprisoned for torturing Muggles and murdering Fabian and Gideon Pruitt, Molly Weasley's brothers. He was freed during the mass breakout in Order of the Phoenix because apparently Azkaban had a revolving door policy that year. He then fought in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, was captured again and sent back. Voldemort broke him out again before Deathly Hallows. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Dolohov was taken down by Filius Flitwick. Whether he died from the fall or survived to be imprisoned yet again remains unclear. But either way, Azkaban had clearly reserved him a permanent suite. Mundungus Fletcher. During the events of the Half-Blood Prince, Mundungus Fletcher was sent to Azkaban for impersonating an Inferius. Yes, he pretended to be a corpse, which strongly suggests he was either buying, selling, or stealing something he absolutely should not have been involved with. Very on-brand. He was later freed along with many Death Eaters when Voldemort liberated Azkaban before Deathly Hallows. Though, to be clear, Fletcher was never quite on Voldemort's most loyal list. More opportunistic survivor with flexible morals. Morfin Gaunt. Morfin Gaunt, uncle of Tom Riddle, was first sentenced to Azkaban for attacking Tom Riddle Sr., the Muggle who had abandoned Morfin's sister, Merope. While Marvolo got 6 months, Morfin received 3 years. After serving his sentence, he returned to the Gaunt shack alone. Enter Tom Riddle, charming, manipulative, and absolutely plotting murder. Voldemort stunned Morfin, stole his wand, murdered Tom Riddle Sr. and his family, then modified Morfin's memory to make him believe he committed the crime. When the Ministry arrived, Morfin confessed because he genuinely believed he had done it. He was sentenced to life in Azkaban. Albus Dumbledore later uncovered the truth through extracted memories and attempted to clear Morfin's name, but Morfin died in prison before justice could catch up. Rubeus Hagrid. Rubeus Hagrid was sentenced to Azkaban after being framed by Lord Voldemort for opening the Chamber of Secrets. The first time it happened, Albus Dumbledore intervened, reducing Hagrid's punishment to expulsion from Hogwarts instead of imprisonment. Still harsh, slightly less soul-sucking. Years later, when the chamber was opened again, Hagrid was arrested and sent to Azkaban, despite having nothing to do with it. He spent 2 months there before Harry Potter and Ron Weasley uncovered the truth. Tom Riddle had been responsible all along. Cleared, released, and back to teaching care of magical creatures. Because if anyone deserves redemption arcs and oversized crossbows, it's Hagrid. Igor Karkaroff. Igor Karkaroff, former Death Eater and eventual Durmstrang headmaster, was imprisoned after Voldemort's first fall. Facing Azkaban, he did what many cowards do. He made a deal. Karkaroff named other Death Eaters, including Augustus Rookwood, in exchange for his freedom. The Ministry accepted. Freedom granted. Reputation ruined. When Voldemort returned, Karkaroff fled rather than rejoin him. The Death Eaters tracked him down and killed him for betrayal. Turns out switching sides only works if both sides trust you. They didn't. Bellatrix Lestrange. Bellatrix Lestrange was sentenced to life in Azkaban for torturing Alice and Frank Longbottom into insanity alongside Barty Crouch Jr. and others. She didn't regret it, not even slightly. She was freed during the mass breakout in Order of the Phoenix and went right back to chaos. Murder, torture, unhinged loyalty speeches, the usual. Notably, she was the only Death Eater at the Battle of the Department of Mysteries to avoid capture, aside from Voldemort himself, who technically doesn't count as staff. Bellatrix was ultimately killed by Molly Weasley during the Battle of Hogwarts, in one of the most satisfying duels in the entire series. Never mess with a mother. Walden Macnair. Walden Macnair avoided capture after Voldemort's first fall and somehow secured a ministry job as executioner, including the assignment to execute Buckbeak. Yes, that Buckbeak. He was later captured during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries and sent to Azkaban. Freed again before Deathly Hallows, he fought at Hogwarts, only to be physically overpowered and knocked out by Hagrid, which is less of a duel and more of a giant half-giant problem. Macnair was arrested once more and sent back to Azkaban, where he remained. Career highlight, almost executed a hippogriff. Career lowlight, got body slammed. Rodolphus Lestrange. Rodolphus Lestrange, husband of Bellatrix, was also sentenced to life in Azkaban for torturing the Longbottoms. He escaped during the Order of the Phoenix breakout, but was recaptured after the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, then freed again before Deathly Hallows, because Azkaban clearly needed better locks. He fought in the Battle of Hogwarts, lost his wife, and was captured yet again after Voldemort's fall. According to the cursed child, Rodolphus later escaped once more to find Delphine, the daughter of Bellatrix and Voldemort, and inform her of her heritage. Yes, that happened. Yes, it's technically canon. No, we're not emotionally prepared to discuss it further. Sturgis Podmore. Sturgis Podmore, member of the Order of the Phoenix, was stationed to guard the prophecy the night of Harry's disciplinary hearing. Lucius Malfoy placed him under the Imperious Curse, because nothing says subtle manipulation like mind control. Weeks later, Lucius used the curse to force Podmore to attempt stealing the very prophecy he was meant to protect. Podmore broke into the Department of Mysteries at 1 a.m., was caught and arrested. Refusing to expose the order, he accepted a 6-month sentence in Azkaban. After serving his time, he returned to the Order, proof that sometimes Azkaban holds heroes too, just temporarily. Augustus Rookwood. Augustus Rookwood was a Death Eater who worked as an unspeakable in the Department of Mysteries, meaning he had access to some of the Ministry's most classified secrets. He passed vital information to Voldemort during the First Wizarding War, and initially avoided capture after the Dark Lord's fall. However, Igor Karkaroff exposed him during a plea bargain, leading to Rookwood's imprisonment in Azkaban. He escaped during the Order of the Phoenix breakout, fought at the Department of Mysteries, was captured again, then freed again before Deathly Hallows. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Rookwood killed Fred Weasley. After Voldemort's defeat, he was imprisoned once more, and few mourned the outcome. Lucius Malfoy. Lucius Malfoy managed to avoid Azkaban after the First Wizarding War by claiming he was under the Imperious Curse. Bold strategy, surprisingly effective. However, during the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, he led the Death Eaters and was finally captured, much to Voldemort's disappointment. Being blamed by the Dark Lord is not ideal for job security. He was freed before Deathly Hallows, but spent most of that time looking increasingly nervous rather than villainous. After the Battle of Hogwarts, Lucius avoided prison again, largely because Narcissa lied to Voldemort about Harry's death, and because Lucius stopped fighting at the end. Rabastan Lestrange. Rabastan Lestrange, brother of Rodolphus, followed the exact same destructive career path. He was imprisoned for torturing the Longbottoms, freed during the Order of the Phoenix mass breakout, captured again at the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, freed again before Deathly Hallows, and finally captured after the Battle of Hogwarts. If Azkaban had a loyalty card, Rabastan would have earned a complimentary cell upgrade. In the end, unlike Voldemort, he didn't get dramatic monologues or cinematic finales, just another permanent stay in the stone walls and regret. Travers. Travers was a Death Eater captured after Voldemort's first fall, largely for participating in the murder of Marlene McKinnon and her entire family. He escaped during the mass breakout in Order of the Phoenix, was captured again after the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, then freed once more before Deathly Hallows. Azkaban really should have upgraded its locks. When Voldemort took control of the Ministry, Travers was appointed to the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, because nothing says justice system like hiring terrorists. He later tracked the trio to Xenophilius Lovegood's house and fought in the Battle of Hogwarts, where he was taken down by Dean Thomas and Pavarti Patel. He returned to Azkaban permanently, no more promotions. Muggleborn Prisoners. During Voldemort's regime, Muggleborn witches and wizards were rounded up and imprisoned in Azkaban under the false accusation that they had stolen their magic. This policy was spearheaded by Dolores Umbridge, whose definition of justice involved blood purity hearings and a deeply unsettling number of kitten plates. Many innocent Muggleborns were sentenced without evidence, including those the trio later encountered during their break-in at the Ministry in Deathly Hallows. Their crime? Existing. Fortunately, Voldemort's fall led to their release. Azkaban has housed monsters. It has housed victims of prejudice. These prisoners were very much the latter. Dolores Umbridge. Dolores Umbridge was eventually sentenced to life in Azkaban for orchestrating the persecution and imprisonment of countless innocent Muggleborn witches and wizards. During Voldemort's control of the Ministry, she led the Muggleborn Registration Commission, accusing people of stealing magic and condemning them to prison with disturbingly cheerful enthusiasm. After the war, justice finally caught up to her, however, and this is important, Azkaban no longer had Dementors. Kingsley Shacklebolt removed them and replaced them with Aurors, meaning Umbridge did not endure soul-sucking torment. She simply lived out her sentence in a far less horrifying version of prison than many of her victims experienced, which feels merciful, debatably more merciful than she deserved. But Dolores being sent to Azkaban was only one of the 10 major events that reshaped the wizarding world after the Deathly Hallows, which brings us to your next lesson, all 10 major events after the Deathly Hallows explained. Click before someone replaces your wand with a pink quill.